Who y'all recruiting nation? Welcome back to another phenomenal episode of Uncharted Waters with the one, the only, the people's champ, the architect of success, Admiral James Waters. I am Chief Totome. Let's get into another incredible episode.
Hoo-yah recruiting nation, and welcome to another phenomenal episode of Uncharted Waters. I am joined by the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the people's champion, the architect of success, Admiral James Waters.
All right, Jeremy, it's great to have you as the guest, co-host, and guest.
Well, thank you, sir. I just tried to do my best with the Chief Totome introduction, and hopefully I lived up to Chief Totome. Give me a thumbs up if you approve.
Yeah, exactly. That was really good. It's great to have you here. You are the director of community outreach for Navy Recruiting Command, and I thought it was really important for recruiters to hear a little bit from you and about you to really maximize the effectiveness of that team, of the local recruiter, the line recruiter with the community outreach team from headquarters.
Yes, sir. So if you've seen me on social media, recruiters, you know that I travel all over the country with these amazing events. And probably my favorite part of the travel is meeting the young recruiters, the line recruiters actually pushing the bag. Because our events are only successful if the local recruiters are out there bringing the energy, bringing the excitement, smiles on their face, looking great in uniform, and projecting their story, their amazing story of the Navy to the general public.
Yeah. Let's give recruiters just a little bit of your background, sort of your history, and then maybe just a little bit about what, those moments that got you excited to tell the Navy story. Because you've been telling the Navy story well before you became a part of Navy Recruiting Command.
Yes, sir. So I think there's probably three things that the recruiters need to know about me. One, I'm a surface warfare officer. I love the ocean. I love the grind. I love driving ships. I love leading people. I've commanded 3 ships, and I've led 3 organizations that were losing by the time I got there into winning organizations. All 3 Battle League winners. All truly forged by the sea. I also played Navy football. I was a team captain my senior year. Again, playing a sport like football, it's about sacrifice. It's about preparation. It's about rolling up your sleeves and putting in the work. It's about dealing with adversity and thriving through adversity. And then the ultimate, team player. In order for a team to be successful, you got to be able to do your job and execute your job to the best of your ability. So I was forged by the field. And then last thing I want people to know about me is I was raised by a chief. My dad, who his journey to become a Navy chief is just pretty amazing. He immigrated from the Philippines. He started off as a steward, the only job that a Filipino could do at the time. And he was, serving food and then taking care of the uniforms of naval officers. And then he became an HT. He served through the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and then he put on the anchors. And to this day, I'm very proud to say that, I was raised by a Navy chief. The fact that, he taught me values of hard work, making 0 excuses, looking in the mirror and taking responsibility and accountability for all of your actions, and learning that, it was this great country that gave him an opportunity that he never thought he had. And those were the things that he taught me, and so I can say I was forged by the mess. So being forged by the sea, forged by the field, being forged by the mess is who I am and what's made me successful.
Yeah, that's amazing. So one of the things that I like to talk about when I'm engaging people about the Navy is the fact that the Navy can, bring about generational change, right? So when you join the Navy, even from humble means, it will change the trajectory of your life, but it won't just change your life. It'll change the lives of your children and your grandchildren because of things like the GI Bill, of things like status as a veteran, where you have unique opportunities that you wouldn't have had before. I mean, you are sort of the living, breathing example of that story, isn't it?
I just think that, I've always told people that, there's the 2 most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you figured out why. And I realized that my why and why I was born was to serve and to make a difference. And it was just awesome that my last command, the last major command, when I was the CEO of John P. Murtha, their battle phrase or their tagline was make a difference. And, just having the opportunity to be a positive impact in young sailors' lives, and doing it in every command that I've been at, and especially to do it here to tell my story, make a difference in future sailors' lives, it's a dream come true.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you've been very active on social media,
Yes, sir.
Instagram particularly.
Only Instagram, yes, sir.
But just talk a little bit about how you got into that and how you view that platform, and what are some of the things that you like to prioritize when you're utilizing that platform?
Yes, sir. I appreciate the question because I was never a social media guy until I took command at my major command. And it was July 10th, 2020 when I took over. And if you can remember in 2020, summer 2020, we were a divided nation, we were a divided Navy, we were a divided ship. And I couldn't project my leadership style in a way that I want to. I'm a rah guy. I like to huddle up the team. I like to show my emotion. I want them to see my face because I want them to see the passion and love that I have for the Navy. But I couldn't do it. Social distancing, mask on your face. So I was explaining this on the mess decks with one of, it was an HM3 at the time. And I said, this is really bumming me out because it's not allowing me to be the type of leader that I want to be. I can't get out to the masses, to the people. We're a duty section only. So I was only seeing people, just a small portion of the time. And I was always masked, so they couldn't see the energy that I was bringing to the table. So she said, sir, have you thought about social media? Have you thought about Instagram? I was like, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a believer. She's like, I guarantee if you want to get your message out there, set yourself up with the Instagram page, say a few messages a day, people will follow you. So she set up my Instagram page. She's like, what do you want to be called? I was like, I don't know, CO, USS, John P. Murtha. We did that, and then she pointed the camera in my face very intentionally and said, all right, sir, say something. And then I just said something awkward, posted it, and then I just got right away I had 10 views. I had no followers, no nothing, I had 10 views. And then I thought it was verified. I thought I was had all the entire nation watching me. But I started it just to get the message, my intent, my vision to the people, right, of the ship. And then, so I had started to get followers, and it was really just the crew. Then we really started to have some momentum, and then we started to get, we were behind in the shipyards at the time, and then we started to get on track, and we the end was near to get out to sea. And then all of a sudden, I started getting messages to their friends and their family of the sailors. I had people that would DM me and say, I haven't seen my son or my daughter since boot camp, and I just want to make sure that they're okay. And I did them one better. I would go find that sailor and say, hey, your mom just called. Do you have a message for your mom? And then they would put that out. So it went from the sailors to the friends and family to the surface warfare community. And now we're almost to the point where we're just trying to infect the entire Navy, the entire country, let them know that there are a lot of positive things that we do in the Navy. So that's really my goal.
Yeah, telling a positive, authentic story about why and the things that you love about the Navy.
Yes, sir. And there's a lot of organizations, Navy professional organizations that show what they do on a daily basis, right? The professional side of that. But I also want people to understand that it's a people organization as well, and the people are out there grinding every day. They're also living in these small berthing compartments. They eat, regular chow, and I wanted to showcase that because that's the unique perspective that not a lot of people get.
That's right.
So when you talk about, influencing the influencers, they want to see and be able to tell the story to their young folks. The Navy is not just about ships and submarines and aircraft. It's a people organization where when you're not doing your mission, then they're just normal people too, just hanging out, reading books, watching movies, and doing things that normal people do.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Well, talk a little bit about community outreach with Navy Recruiting Command.
Yes, sir.
What is it? How do we as an organization maximize the effectiveness of some of the tools that you have? What are those tools? Give some examples of some events that you've participated in.
So I think, when you talk about your priorities and, your number one priority is the recruiter, I think Navy outreach, is it brings the people to the recruiter. I like to tell my people, we dominate the upper funnel. We need to own that space and bring the shiny objects to where it attracts people that want to know more about the Navy, and we put them in front of the recruiter. We also bring recruiters into spaces that they wouldn't normally get into with certain partnerships, conventions, and so forth. And then we build the trust-based relationships with the influencers, the coaches, the teachers, the principals, so that when they understand what opportunities the Navy presents, they're saying, okay, well then we have Johnny or Susie that it sounds like a perfect fit. Let's have them come to the recruiters, or let's open up our school or our field to recruiters so that, you know, we can give at least them the opportunity to hear their spiel to see if it's the best fit for them. So what we do in outreach is we open the doors for recruiting so that we bring, you know, the shiny objects, the strike group, the esports team, you know, the convention booths. We just did SneakerCon, and we just had an amazing booth set up by the agency, and it just brought so much attention, you know, to the recruiters. And then the recruiters that were passionate about the sneakers, the shoes, had some, you know, folks that had eyes wide open, ready to hear the Navy story. Because they're like, okay, well, there are sneakerheads also in the Navy, so you can do, you know, these, you know, wild, you know, Navy jobs, but still kind of keep your identity and wear these cool shoes too. That's what we bring to the table as far as Navy recruiting.
Yeah. And so the weight of Navy Recruiting Command establishing a presence with the organization that's hosting something like this, right? So the partnership with our marketing and advertising agency that gets connected into SneakerCon, you know, the organization running it,
Correct.
Gets us in the door. Shiny objects come. In the case of SneakerCon, we had, you know, some sneakers, right? We had some actual, you know, Navy Special Operations shoes.
So they were the most exclusive shoe at SneakerCon because everyone's there to, you know, to buy other pairs of shoes. These were shoes that you couldn't buy. Right? So they're the most exclusive. The only way that you can earn these shoes was through sweat. So whether it was a recon challenge, whether it was a push-up competition or a pull-up competition, you had to earn them. You couldn't buy them. So we marketed them as the most exclusive shoes at SneakerCon. And that's how we did it. And they just did a phenomenal job of branding these shoes between the sea, the air, the land, concepts for, you know, kind of the SEALs and the Warrior Challenge. And Johnny Kicks made his own shoe, and they were the hit of the entire conference.
That's amazing.
But we're not just talking SneakerCon. We're also talking STEM conferences where we're bringing folks that, you know, the thinkers, the cerebral types that are really focused on STEM. You know, we just did the Arnold Classic, you know, the physical folks that really kind of hone in on the physical aspects of the Navy. So we try to reach all the different markets, and we go into the spaces where the people, you know, aren't typically, you know, very aware of what the Navy does. And that's where we just, you know, outreach is super valuable.
Yeah, and so the message for Navy recruiters really is you're a resource for them, right? And we have a schedule of where outreach is occurring that's available to all recruiters to understand what that is. There's opportunities that are available within that schedule so that they can ask for help, right? Because we want to help. That's our job, to help that line recruiter. But the way that I think recruiters have to think about your team, door openers,
Absolutely.
right? And shiny object carriers, right? The things that people are interested in seeing and playing with. It's like the booth that has all the, you know, the equipment and different things that people are interested in, the pull-up bars, all that kind of stuff. And then the recruiters are there to engage and win the day, really.
Yes, sir. So we are there. We exist for them. So if there's a local event within their community that they want presence, all they have to do is reach out to us, whether it's the eTools website, whether it's, you know, if you want esports, they have their own tab. Just get on there and just give us enough time where we can plan, we can work the approval, we can work the funding, we can work the execution. Just give us enough time where we can say, all right, does this make the most sense? Will this give us the best return on investment? And then we can do some research and then we can go. I mean, it's not just the shiny objects, it's not just esports, but we also have subject matter experts that we will send to a school to help with scholarships or with whatever kind of recruiting you have. So we can bring all sorts of resources to the table to help the recruiter do their jobs.
Yeah, I think that's important, the range, like from esports, right? So the whole esports team, the Navy's video game.
There's so many people in the gaming. I didn't realize this. I just went to MegaCon in Orlando, and the amount of engagements and impressions that we had with that booth alone was phenomenal because, you know, at MegaCon, they're just, you know, seeing the different sites, but with the Navy Esports booth, it's actual interaction. You're playing with sailors from the fleet who are professional esport athletes, and they're playing them 1v1, Call of Duty, Smash Bros.
It's amazing.
And then they're like, they're playing, but then they're also communicating. They're like, so what do you do when you're not playing esports? Oh, I am a MC or I am a MM. I'm an HM, and then that
what
starts
is that?
the conversation.
Oh yeah,
and then at the same time they're getting their butts whooped by a Navy guy because our guys are really, really good.
Yeah.
And,
so the full-time esports team members, you know, they've transferred from the fleet, learned the games and practiced the games on their own, but qualified, got selected, and they're part of the esports team. And then I think a really important innovation that the fleet, you know, and our recruiting force needs to know about, if they don't already, is the auxiliary team, right? What a great innovation that was.
And I think right now we're experiencing that right now because we just had a tournament for the Marvel Rivals. I never heard of this game, but it's apparently like it just came out a few months ago. But we don't have the subject matter experts, you know, the elite champions of Marvel Rivals. So we've reached out to the Ox teams, you know, the NTAGs, and say, hey, do you have anybody that excel in this actual sport, in this game? And we reached out, we did tryouts, and out of 5,000 teams, we are top 300, you know, because of the Oxfords. We have a team lead in Chief Armstrong, and he built this team of Ox members, and they created this team. They competed, and they did really, really well.
Yeah. So it's
just, again, like the War of Warcrafts or World of Warcrafts, we just won that tournament with auxiliary members, and we appreciate you recognizing them.
Yeah.
But that's a proud accomplishment. You know, the Navy team that were the underdogs end up winning the whole darn thing because of one leader, and he reached out to Navy Nation.
The incredible talent that exists throughout the Navy.
Yes, sir.
And they're doing these games, this work as a key part of their day-to-day life. They're becoming excellent at it, and then they're competing, you know, with our team, right?
Yes,
with
sir.
the Navy team. It's amazing.
And then they're also, it's streamed, right? So there's thousands of people that watch the streaming. So you're getting interactions and impressions constantly as these guys are playing their games.
And so that ranges from esports to, we have connections with NSWAC, so the Navy Special Warfare Assessment Center, who supports Naval Special Operations recruiting, Warrior Challenge recruiting. And then other connections around the fleet.
Navy Parachute Team.
Navy Parachute Team, that's fantastic. Your team does things with Fleet Weeks. That's another key engagement area. And then we were at the Navy All-American Bowl in January, which is just a phenomenal engagement. Talk a little bit about that one, because there were some key moments like the touchdown with the whole team standing on top of the Jeep.
Yeah, we had some engagements with that one. But, you know, just the Navy All-American Bowl in itself, the fact that we put our brand on the line for the most exclusive, the premier high school all-star game, and just having the branding all over the place, national television, some lead-ups into the actual game itself. We actually honored, some of these athletes with a jersey presentation into their high schools.
Yes.
So that's another reach that we had. But then the game day activations, we had the strike group out there. We did a seminar for all the band members. There was over 1,000 band members that were there, and we talked to them with our Navy band there. And then just the game itself was phenomenal with the Navy branding. And then we had some of these assets that were located throughout the field. And, anytime the team scored, they looked for the sexiest thing on the field because they wanted their shine. They wanted to do their touchdown dance. They found that Gladiator Jeep that was wrapped beautifully in the Navy branding. They got on top of it. They all celebrated together.
Yeah.
We were worried that they were going to leave some damage with the assets.
But it was beautiful.
But it was on national television, and the fact that it just shined the light not only on these phenomenal athletes that just did a phenomenal play to score for their team, but then they celebrated on this Navy branded Jeep.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than
Right. It was fantastic. And you mentioned the jersey presentations. I think for recruiters, that's a key thing to think about, right? So ahead of that game, we, in a number of places around the country, went into the school where the athlete attended the school and presented the Navy All-American Bowl jersey. This was access into high schools. And in some cases, high schools we have not been in a long time because they have been resistant to recruiters being present.
Yes, sir.
And they're always willing to celebrate one of their own. And so that really helped, I think.
Yes, sir. I think the best part about the jersey presentations is we had local recruiters come out to us and say, sir, we appreciate that because we have never been able to get into this school. I mean, it was like a kind of voodoo for us to get into the school, but because it was a national televised event and honoring one of their own, one of these community members, they gave us access. And then we were able to build a relationship, and now they invited us back.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a huge win.
Yeah, it's huge. So as we work toward wrapping this up, what closing comments, what advice do you have for Navy recruiting as we look forward?
Yeah, just continue to win, right? And I know that you put this message out, winners win, and that's a true statement, right? It takes three things to win. You have to be fundamentally strong, fundamentally sound, right? And that means understanding what it takes to recruit, looking the part, talking the part, having your pitch down, be prepared. The second thing is you just got to sacrifice. You got to be willing to put in the work. And the last thing is when the lights are bright, you got to be able to execute. And that means sealing the deal. Closing it. So, keep on with that winner's mentality, understanding what it takes to win. I always tell my sailors, you work like a sailor, you win like a champion, then you party like pirates. Because we got to celebrate each other, right? There's going to be huge wins. And I want leadership to be able to celebrate your people because they're doing phenomenal things.
That's right.
They're grinding. We have to be able to celebrate them in whatever way we can. Pat on the back, awards, fist bump, whatever it takes. But just understand that these kids are working their butts off, and when they make numbers for Navy recruiting, for Navy writ large, we got to celebrate them.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Navy recruiting is winning, right?
Yes, sir.
We are ahead of glide slope every day, grinding it out and doing better than we've ever done in more than 20 years. So I couldn't be more proud of Navy recruiting, of recruiters everywhere, the entire recruiting nation. It is just amazing. So Recruiting Nation, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Uncharted Waters. I'm Admiral Jim Waters. Thank you for all that you do. Out.